My friend Soar. Are you lying comfortably? Take your time to adjust your blanket. I will wait in the meantime, because relaxation should not be forced. And if you are ready now, I would like to invite you on a journey through the water. Once I was able to make a wonderful acquaintance. Their name is Soar, and they are over 1,000 years old. Despite their age, they still look lively and young. Soar is of a calm nature. Their motto is, "Constant current can carry away even the heaviest stone." Their favorite color is sky blue, and they like sunshine the most. If the weather is rainy for more than 6 days, Soar becomes wild and unruly. They don't like it when it rains for so long. It always goes to their head. Then they literally start to overflow with anger and frustration, and every now and then they throw mud and sticks around, and everything else that swims in them. Oh, did I mention that? Soar is a river. They are multiple kilometers long, and in some places so wide that you have to be an extraordinary swimmer to be able to cross. When we met, I was only 7 years old myself. It was during my summer vacation. During our first encounter, I made myself comfortable on their bank with a blanket and played for hours. I made stones skip over their water and built castles in the gravel and pebbles beside them. I put leaves in the cool stream and let them race each other. I even splashed around in the water and chatted with the fish. Soar must have liked that because they brought me a present. A little yellow rubber duck. They sloshed it towards me with a gentle wave that wet my bare feet. I was thrilled. The duck was covered in slimy algae, but I was so happy about it that I played exclusively with it for the rest of the day. I told the fish about the journey the duck had already made, and the fish and Soar listened intently to me. I named the duck Gunther. Gunther is a veterinarian. The only profession that was worth striving for, in my understanding at the time. He himself has 2 large carps as pets, Bubbles and Splash. Gunther is a fantastic cook, but he is always looking for new ingredients for his unusual dishes. Back then, he was looking for strawberry cloves, potato foam, and peach flour. He had searched all of the river, but no one could help him find these strange ingredients. In the end, he came to realize that some things could probably only be found on land. So he took Bubbles and Splash to a friend, and then the next wave outside. With my 7 years, I made a holy promise to help him, and I still keep my promise to this day. Gunther now lives with me, on the windowsill in my kitchen, and when I go out to eat or travel, I still take him with me. But back to Soar. That summer, I spent almost every day on their river bank. Soar had created a small bay between a rock and the thick undergrowth, where I preferred to camp. The water there was only knee-high, and flowed past in a lazy rhythm. I felt very comfortable in the small bay, and spent many hours building boats for my rubber duck Gunther. One day, Soar asked me if I maybe wanted to swim in them. I had to admit that I actually couldn't swim at all. I was always afraid of being submerged in water. The ground is so slippery, and there is nowhere to hold on to. Soar thought for a moment, and then promised me they could help me. With lots of gurgling and swooshing, they brought a large piece of driftwood closer. It was a huge branch, so big that I could lie down on it. The top was bleached from the sun, the underside slippery and dark. Soar told me to just hold on to it and practice to simply drift. So I did. I went a little further into the water, but only up to my stomach. Then I slowly crouched down until my head peeked out, and then I carefully lifted my legs off the ground. Both my hands clawed into the wood. Immediately I slid to the left. My center of gravity was quite a bit off. I was instantly scared and thrust both legs firmly back into the muddy ground. Soar offered to practice with me every day. I just had to push the big branch ashore when I went home in the evenings, so that it couldn't accidentally float away. Reluctantly but curiously, I agreed. After 4 days, I was able to stabilize myself better. After 10, I dared to tread water with my legs. And after 16, I held onto the branch with only one hand. Soar always cheered me on and praised my progress. They were good at motivating me, but not a good teacher.
You just have to flow like the water. Be loose like the wind, but strong as the branch.
I didn't understand what they meant at all. But despite everything, I gradually learned to relax. The water seemed less and less threatening, and Soar always encouraged me with small gifts. When I lifted my legs from the ground for the first time, they gave me a perfectly round stone. When I dared to let go with one hand, they gave me a beautiful flower. And when I went into the water for the first time without the branch, and even managed a full stroke before I got scared again and stood up, they rewarded me with a shimmering shell. Thanks to their gifts and kind words, I learned to swim within a few weeks. Soar was incredibly proud, and if they hadn't been a river, I would certainly have seen tears of joy in their eyes. The rest of the summer passed by too quickly. I went swimming as often as I could, and Soar accompanied me. When it rained, I would walk along the shore in my raincoat and boots and explore the area. Soar was often not very talkative on rainy days. They always said their mood was as cloudy as their muddy water, which was swirled up by the rain. One of these days, I discovered a curve behind which Soar became so wide that the trees on the other side looked small and distant. Captivated, I stared at the surging water, the flotsam and leaves tossed back and forth, and then and there, I made a decision. This is the final test, I thought. If I can swim to the other side here, then I can really swim. It was a daring plan, of course, but Soar was here. I wasn't afraid anymore. So over the next sunny days, I told them about my plan. They warned me that it would be dangerous on my own, but I didn't want to hear about it. I took the big branch that was still safe and sound in my little bay and slowly drifted downriver to the bend with it. Once I was there, doubts arose again. It was really far. I took a deep breath, gathered up all my courage, and started swimming. The first few meters were not a problem. My legs kicked out strongly, and my arms pushed through the water as if it was nothing. But soon my arms got tired. I slowed down. My legs felt hotter and hotter from the exertion. I had made it about 3/4 of the way when my strength left me. And then Soar picked me up and carefully turned me around until I was on my back. I stretched my arms and legs and floated on their surface. That was nice. I had never floated in the water like this before. The sky was clear and the sun tickled my nose. I relaxed again and put all my trust in Soar. My strength slowly returned to my limbs. I turned on my stomach again and even made the last few meters to the other side. When I got there, I heaved myself out of the water, breathing heavily, and just lay on the ground for a while. My muscles hurt, but it was a good pain. I gave a loud, triumphant cry. I did it. I did it. I had defied the long distance. I had won. A laugh broke out of my mouth and tumbled with me through the grass. A wave of happiness and pride took me up and carried me away. I cheered for a while and whirled around, danced with the wind and laughed with Soar. However, the way home I made on foot. One should not overdo it. When I stood across from my little bay, it was a breeze to swim to the other side again. It was only here that it occurred to me that I had completely forgotten my big branch. And I smiled. I would probably never need it again. Soar has been a good friend of mine since those beautiful childhood days. And to this day, I like to visit and cross them at the widest point, just to let myself float a bit in the water.